have any questions at any point, you can go ahead and add them to the chat. Carrie is going to be manning the chat for me to answer it, and we'll answer as many questions as we can and share as many cool, innovative ways to use Book Creator as I can with you all today. So here we go. We're going to talk today about using Book Creator as an interactive notebook. If you've never used Book Creator, I'm going to show a little bit of how some of the tools work, but I've also linked to a recorded session on how to use Book Creator, like all the nitty gritty, how it works. My name is Suzanne Peerenboom. I guess I should introduce myself. I'm the Library Instructional Technology Teacher at Five Oaks and Rachel Carson. There's my email and my Twitter. Please feel free to reach out, ask questions if you have them. We'll go ahead and Carrie, will you put the link to the slide deck in the chat so everybody has access to it?
Yeah.
Thank you. I have tons of resources linked in the slideshow that you can access at any time. There's even a student-facing how to use Book Creator slide deck that I created, and it's a force a copy link so that you can adjust as you need for your own students. So real quick, what is Book Creator? Book Creator is a place for you and your students to create and publish digital books. They can add in text, video, images, icons. They can do voice recording, they can do voice to text. There's a ton of different ways that you can create with Book Creator, and then you can publish them. You get a website link, and then you can share that with families so everybody can experience your students' writing. I was thinking about some of the struggles some of our teachers in the middle school have been having with sharing their interactive notebooks, things that they would have done in an in-person classroom. We're having to change how we do things. And so a lot of teachers are using Google Slides or Google Docs and then having to share either the whole notebook at once, or students are having to copy pages individually. And we were running into a lot of struggles with that. Book Creator has the ability for you to share your pages with your students' books with just a few clicks. So that is, I think that's a great tool, a great way to use Book Creator, sharing those pages with your students. You can see all of your students' work at once in real time. They don't have to share it back with you. They don't have to do anything extra for you to be able to see their work. And then again, that idea of being able to publish their final project, so they have they can use those notes for future reference. And they also, you can talk about authentic audience with their writing and their creating. So I have a few samples that I want to show you. Most of these samples are things where I've taken what teachers have been doing and turned them into Book Creator to show teachers what's possible. So here, I linked for you all, this is my published library of these samples so that you can see them, what they look like once they're published. Right now, our 7th grade humanities are working on their informational writing or nonfiction writing. And so this is a book that they're using with their students this week. They've embedded a YouTube video, and then they've given their students a note-taking space. So each student has their own copy of the book. They can type right in here, they can edit. I'm showing you the published version, not the editing version. And then, so they have a YouTube video where students are taking notes. They have a Newsella article that's linked where students are taking notes. And then, and those were the 2 days that they worked as a class, and they were modeling the note taking. And then the next day, they have a text set up for the students to access these specific resources. Students get to choose which resource they're taking notes on, but they have that same graphic organizers to take notes. Our 8th grade students are going to be reading Stamped as soon as our books come in. And so I've been working on creating an interactive notebook for them to use as they're reading Stamped together. And so this one, there's a video and some information. There's a place for them to type or record their reflection. I've made these little Post-it notes to kind of help them have a space to pull out specific information. There's a space for them to create like a vocabulary list where they just enter some text boxes, a space for them to do some reflecting. And then there's an activity where they create a virtual postcard, so they have a space to create an image and then also include some text. There's a lot of different ways we can use this in humanities. 7th grade, this is their inquiry notebook, and this is one that they have been using Google Slides for this, and I took what they've been using and took some pieces and put it into Book Creator just to show what's possible. So there's a table of contents that students can add in text boxes to fill in, and then they can put the page numbers that these are located in their book. And then here's an example of a lab that they're doing. And so there's spaces for the students to type their hypothesis with some of the information already filled in. So I would give them the materials, but I've got question marks where I want them to fill in either as a whole class, we're doing it together, or on their own. They're thinking about those different parts. Here's all the procedures for this lab. And then here's where their data collection happens. So I made the question marks red so they would know these are things that I need to fill in myself. Here's an example page of some Cornell notes where there's a space for them to put in their essential question, and then place for them to take some guided notes, and then to go back and interact with those notes later, just like we would if we were in our in-person classrooms. Hang on. Let's do this. Okay. So that's a 7th grade example. This is a 6th grade. It's a very similar, that got that same table of contents. There's a space for them to add some icons. This was the scientific method. They were talking about the inquiry process, so they can put in text boxes into this to show that process. My next example is a math example. And this one I was really I taught math for a lot of years, so I was really thinking about how can we have students be doing math like this, because I know that's been a big struggle with wanting them to write out their work and graphing and all of the different things that need to happen in math. So I was able to create a table with some text boxes that they can enter. I also, I took screenshots of some of the worksheets that our students were working on, or some of the guided notes that they were doing. And then I just added in text boxes where the students then could add in the information from the class discussion. And then I was playing around with getting Desmos to work. Here's the data table that was on a worksheet that we would have handed them and they would have filled in person. But I've just added text boxes so that they can complete those data tables. And then they can do the graphing. Again, I put in a screenshot of the graph we would have used, and then they are just adding in dots, and then they can use a line to connect the dots for the graphing. It's not super sophisticated, but for right now, this is the best I've come up with so far. I was looking at our list of people who were attending today, and I saw there were quite a few elementary teachers. And so I wanted to think about how it could be used for elementary in this kind of format. I started thinking about using it as a reading journal where students could maybe think about, like, if you're doing a read aloud, and they could have pages and they could add in icons to show how they were feeling when they read a certain part of a book, or show the characters or something like that. And these are all icons, and then this was a Google image that I searched. So what was this one? Oh, so I've got so many tabs. There we go. Okay. So these are just some examples of what I came up with and how I would use these interactive notebooks through Book Creator as opposed to Google Slides. You still have like a lot of the same capabilities as far as the creative and leaving the text boxes and leaving spaces for students to add to it. It just looks a little different, and I think it's easier to share information with your students. So I've got all those samples. So basically the way it works is that you create a master book that is like your version of your notebook that you want your students to use. I would create it in the My Books library. So when you're in Book Creator and you're on the main teacher dashboard, you have all these library options. The My Books is private. It's only for you, and you can copy from this library into any other library that you have. So you can create the one that is your master in this My Books library and then share the pages out to your students. When you're creating that master copy, you want to think about the spaces that you're going to leave for your students to fill in, what you want that to look like. So I showed, again, some examples of what that might look like. You can include links to videos, links to articles, you can include images, video, text, and then you can also give space for your students to do all of that interaction with the information that we've always done in person, where they can write, they can draw, they can record, they can respond, think, explore. All of those things can happen right there within Book Creator. A couple of tips that I've learned over the last couple of weeks as I've been thinking about how to make this work. When you create your master copy, you create it by adding a new book to your library. And then it's really important to make note of what size and style you choose, because if you're sharing pages to your students and you created in landscape, but they created their book in portrait, the pages aren't going to be the same size, and so the formatting is going to be off. It's not going to fit. So it's really important to keep note of what size you use. I think it's really just a personal preference and how you're going to set it up and what you're going to use it for. I like the landscape because it gives me lots of space to play with, but I've seen lots of really great books that were in portrait and also in a square size. Book Creator also has this comic book style option. So the difference between the top row options and the bottom row options is only the comic book stuff. So if you think that you potentially might want to add in panels or have like the comic book style text boxes, the kaboom and pow and the cool thought bubbles and all of those kinds of things that are more comic book style, then you would choose this bottom. Everything else is the same in both styles, but you can't switch. Like once you've created the book, you can't switch to the comic book style if you decide later that you want to use the panels and stuff like that. Okay, so you choose which size and style you want to create, and then this is where all the creative, this is the how to use Book Creator. So I'm going to go through this kind of fast. And there is a link on these slides to the recorded session of how to use Book Creator. Basically, when you're adding things to your pages, the plus sign is where you add the stuff. So that's where you can put in images and links, and you can take a picture with your camera, and you can put in videos, you can do drawings, you can do text boxes, you can do audio recordings. There's shapes, and now there's icons. The icons are new. So you can type in anything and you can find all of these icons. And this is new, like last week, they just added this. And they've added a bunch more shapes and things also. So the plus sign is where you add the stuff. The eye, which they call the inspector, is where you make things pretty. So this is where you can change your fonts and your colors and your backgrounds and your pages. It's also where you can edit your shapes and change the color. One thing that I learned last week is that you can have just the border on your shapes. So if you were doing in science or math, you were doing, or humanities, language arts, social studies, any subject really, if you're doing any kind of comparison, you can actually create like a Venn diagram by using just the border of the shapes and then making your circles intersect. You can use the circle to highlight specific words or images that you like want to draw attention to. You can change the colors of them and all of that kind of stuff. And students, when they're editing their books, have access to all of those things also. I also, this morning, I learned that when you add in an icon, if you have that icon highlighted and you click on that eye, then you can hyperlink that icon to a website or to a specific page within your book. So you could add an icon to the table of contents and then link it to the page that that activity is on. So you can do that movement within the book, just like you can in Google Slides, where you can link to specific slides. Okay, this is the meat and potatoes of what I want to show you, the sharing with your students. So I have some slides that show step-by-step how to do all of the things, but I'm gonna do a demonstration also. So the most important thing, once you have your book created, or at least started, when your students before your students access Book Creator, you need to create a library that they're all going to be a part of. If you teach multiple subjects or multiple periods, you can create them however you want. I know that some teachers like to create, like, this is our project library, and all of their students are creating their books in that project library. And some teachers like to create it so I have a period 1 library and a period 2 library and a period 3 library. You can do that however makes the most sense to you. With our paid version, you get up to 10 libraries at a time, and each of those libraries can hold 100 books. So you have some space to play with. You as books are within your library. Students logging into Book Creator, you have a couple of options. Bookcreator.com, they log in as a student with Google. If you're a Canvas user, it is an external tool function in Canvas, so you can use it as an external tool, but all it does is link to Book Creator and logs them into Book Creator. It doesn't, there's no grade passback, there's no Turnitin, any of that kind of connection of the work from Canvas to Book Creator, and we'll talk about how you can do that later. iPad users, it's really important that you're using the browser and not the app on the iPads. The app doesn't sync with the library correctly. It's funky and weird. So that you want to use the browser, not the app. And I think you can use Clever to log in. Deb, I know I told you not to use Clever, but I think I was wrong. So Carrie, if you're still here with me, can you clarify that one for me?
Yes, I believe you could use Clever.
Okay, awesome. Once your students are logged into Book Creator, then they just click to join a library, they enter your library code, and then their work is in your library. To get your students started, there's 2 ways to do this. The first option is to allow students to create their own book. Make sure that they choose the same size and style that you created your master copy. When you do this, it creates 2 blank pages at the beginning of their book. It really matters if you're wanting them to stay on the same page number as your students, so you just need to be aware that their books will have 2 blank pages. They can delete them. Maybe you have them do something on those 2 pages to play with Book Creator to learn how to use it. So that's one option, is where they create their own book in your library, and then you can still share your pages with them. The second option is if you have that master book created in your class library, with maybe just the cover, maybe the cover in the first 2 pages, students, once they're in your library, can make a copy of that book, and I'll show you how that all works. Okay, this is the link for student instructions. This is a force a copy, so you'll have your own version of it so that you can edit it as you need it, as needed for your students. Here's what it looks like. I tried to make it bright and colorful. Lots of screenshots so that you can show them these are all the different things that you can add. Feel free to share this with your students, other teachers, however you want to do that. Okay, I think, see, I have to learn my own. Okay, so the next few slides are the how to share with your students. So I'm just gonna go ahead and demo this for you. So I'm using the Book Creator help chat person to help me with an issue with one of our classes. So that's what keeps popping up there. Okay, so I'm in this is my teacher dashboard. So these are the libraries that I have created. These are some libraries that I have been invited to so that I can see what's happening in their classes, kind of check it out, check out the cool work. So here's my interactive notebook sample library. The invite code is up here at the top. So now I can give this code to anyone so that they can join my library, add their books to my library, and see my books. To edit my book, I'm going to go ahead and just click on this pencil to go into this math interactive notebook. This is like my master book, right? So to share this book with my students, once they have their own book in our class library, I click on Pages. I decide which pages I'm ready to share. So I'm going to click on Select on the top right here. And we're ready to do the graphing part of this activity. And then there's some reflection piece here. So I've got these 3 pages that I need to copy to my students. I need to send it to my students. I click Copy To. I choose which library I want it to go to. So I want it to go to, let's pretend this science period 1. No, let's not do that one. I want to send it to the Peerenboom Family Library. And then I can choose if I want to send it to every book in this library, or maybe I have a new student who started late and they need those first few pages and I only want to send it to, I'll send it to this one. I only want to send it to this book. Okay, when I do that and I click Copy Pages, I obviously did not set it up with the same size. So it's going to tell me you've selected a book with a different shape. When pages are copied, it's going to look different. I'm going to say okay. And then done. Those pages have now been added to the end of my students' books. That's it. I don't have to do anything else. I don't have to share with them. I don't have to give them permission, nothing else. So now if I go back to that Peerenboom Family Library, just to show you what it looks like. Here's my I Want a Puppy book that I just added to, because, you know, that's the most important thing. I'm going to view all of the pages at the same time. And now you can see here are those 3 math pages that I sent. And because my book is a different size, the formatting is off and it doesn't look right. So that's why it's important that your students have a book that's the same size as your master.
Suzanne?
Suzanne,
yeah.
it will populate. Oh, I'm sorry, somebody else was talking.
That's okay. I was just going to ask a question from the chat. Go ahead, Lisa.
Will it populate in every book?
If you choose, so when I chose the pages to send it to, and I chose my library, I only chose this book, but I can choose the whole library and send it to all of the books with 1 click.
Okay, but let's say that I shared yesterday, Puppies Are Awesome. Okay, and I want to add 3 pages to that. So if I click and I do everything you just did, it will add it to every one of my kids who actually copied Puppies Are Awesome?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it'll copy to every book that's in that library, whether they got that book by copying your original or by creating their own.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So if I'm in, sorry, if I'm in my library and I want to, like, my teacher made this book and this is my master, as the student, I can click on the library here and I can say copy book. And so that's what you would do if you So I think I'm here twice now. I'm here. Are you all here with me still?
I can hear you now.
Okay, that was weird. It like totally.
It just kicked me out a few minutes ago. I'm not sure why.
Okay, Zoom is crabby this morning, apparently.
I think so. While I have you though, we'd have a question in the chat about how, like, as the teacher, where your master copy lives versus where the student copies live. Would they be like in 2 separate libraries perhaps?
Potentially. So there's a couple of different ways to do that. So it kind of depends on how you, like, what access you want your students to have. you can have your master copy live in your class library. Your students will be able to access it the whole time. They'll be able to see it. They won't be able to edit it, but they'll be able to see the whole thing the whole time. Or you can have that master copy live in your My Books library, and then you're the only one who has access to it. And so you can work ahead and your students won't be able to see that work ahead. I know, like, so I'm going to use Miss Edwards and Miss Soloway here as an example. So these are my 7th grade humanities teachers that are using this right now. And this is their students' work. So I'm going to go to see just Miss Soloway's books. So Miss Soloway in her class library has essentially 3 master copies of her book, because she's working along with her students as they take notes to do some modeling of the note taking from the videos and from the articles. And then she has her master copy in her My Books library, where only she has access to it. Here, the students can see her book. They can't edit it. I have teacher privileges. That's why it shows the editing tool. But here, the students can see, so then they can see these were the notes that we took from this video. Here are the notes that we took from this article when we did this together. And then this is what I'm expected to do next. So it can live, like, really the master copy can live wherever you feel comfortable with, because you can copy from any book to any book in any library at any time. Okay.
Can you share this book with other co-workers?
Yes, I'm so glad you asked that question. I got a little flustered with Zoom kicking me out, so I'm really glad you you asked that question, brought me back on topic. So what we discovered, we have a lot of our special education teachers and our ESL teachers who are pushing into our Zoom classes and are supporting their students that they work with within their regular core content area. And so what you can do is you can have a teacher join your library, just like the students did with that library code, and then you can promote them to a teacher. So I'm going to pretend that Adam is a teacher. I'm going to click on the 3 dots next to his name, and I'm going to say promote to co-teacher. Not actually going to do that because he's a student and I don't want to give him those privileges. When I promote someone to co-teacher, it means that they can see all of the books in the library. They can see, let's see, let me go here. So now I can see all of the books on the shelf. They can edit books, which means that you can add in voice comments to students by adding in a recording to their book. You can add in a text feedback to students by adding in a text box to their book. You can add in icons and like add a smiley face to show them that you like part of the book. So there's ways that you can add feedback right into the book creator books once you're a teacher in the class. So absolutely, you can share libraries with other teachers. You can share books with other teachers. If I go back out here, I can take this book and I have the options to share. I can add a collaborator, so I can invite another teacher to be a collaborator on my book where we're both editing the book at the same time. I can publish my books online so that my students can see them. I can publish, what I did for you guys, I published this whole library so that you have access to all of my books if you want to look at them as examples in the published version, so they're not editable. And then I published it yesterday, but I added this reading journal book today. So it's still live, even though it's published. When I make changes or edits, these published books are updated.
Where are they? Like, if I go and find them, where exactly are they?
So mine, I linked in the slide deck on the second to last slide, there's a list of resources, and one of them says published books. I'll show you when I get to that page. So these are like the step by step, in case you forget from my really awesome instructions, how to share the pages with your students. I tried to lay it out for you. So if you need to go back for help, that's always there. There's the copy to, and then choosing which pages. If you want to see all the books, you click on the waffle and then you can see your whole library at the same time. Here's the information on adding the co-teachers so other staff can support student work. Here's the step-by-step how to do it. And then this is like the all important for some of us, like how do I have students turn in this work? Because I'm working in Book Creator, I'm not working in Canvas, I'm not working in Google Slides. How do I have students turn it in so that they can assess? So I did this all based on Canvas because that's what we're using at the middle school. I'm sure that something like this could also work if you're using Seesaw, so that you can see students work. So there's a couple of different options. If it's like you're using it truly as an interactive notebook and you just want to see that they're staying up to date, you could create an assignment in Canvas that has a text entry, and your question is something like, in the text box, let me know when you finish page 4. And then the student in the text box would just write a little note that says, I finished page 4, and they would submit it. And then you can go look in Book Creator at their pages once they've told you that they're done. But you also then have some evidence in Canvas that they told you they completed that work. You could do a file upload and have students turn in a screenshot of the finished page. So then you have that picture of that finished page. You have that evidence in Canvas that they completed the work, they're following along. And then when you finished your project and you've published it, you give them the opportunity to publish it. They get a website URL, they get a link to their project. So you could do a website URL turn in, and they would turn in that link to their final book. And then you have that evidence in Canvas. You can still look at it in Book Creator, but you have that evidence, that place to give them some sort of score in Canvas for parents to see evidence also. Like I said earlier, Book Creator is an external tool in Canvas, but all it does is log them in to Book Creator. It doesn't, there's no grade pass back, there's no auto turn in like there is with Adobe Spark and with Google Docs. So that's the difference between Book Creator as an external tool of Canvas as opposed to some other options. And then this is that resources page in the slide deck. So this link goes to my interactive notebook library where it has all of my samples. Here is another link to the copy, the Student Book Creator slide deck. And then Book Creator has some awesome resources. And they have books that some of them are ones that you can actually make a copy of and then share with your students. Some of them are like how to use Book Creator in a certain way. Some of them are just student samples and teacher samples of how they've used it in their classroom. So I linked to the Book Creator Discovery page so that you can see some of their resources. They also have some great professional development on how to use it. I've watched a couple of webinars. That's how I learned a bunch of different tricks to it. And then here's again the link to the how to use Book Creator PD recording from Carrie. And there's me again, my happy Bitmoji. Please feel free to reach out, email me questions if you have thoughts or ideas, you want to try something. I'm happy to help however I can. But that's Book Creator for interactive notebooks in a nutshell. Are there any other questions that I can answer, Carrie?
Yeah, I think we have a number of questions.
All right, let's see what we got.
Yeah, most recently, how can students add collaborators? If you had a group project, how can kids work together on a book?
Okay, so the same way that I can. So if I want to add someone to my 7th grade inquiry notebook, I click on the share, I say collaborate, and then this book can be edited by, oh, that's not what I want to do. I don't want it to be everybody in the library. Hang on, I'm the only author in that library, so that one's a little tricky. They should be able to choose from the other authors. Oh, that's not it either. Oh, they click on this little share button and then they should be able to choose who they want to collaborate with. let me make sure that it's hard when I don't have actual students that I'm working with that are my students. I use my children as my sample a lot. So I'm pretending to be this student. So I clicked on the little share icon under my book. I say collaborate. Right now it says everyone in the library. I'm going to click on change. And now I can choose which student it is that I want to add as a collaborator. And then I just say done. And that's going to add that person as a collaborator on my project. And now we both have editing rights and we can both see each other's projects. Right now, this library is set up so that students cannot read each other's books. So I can see everyone's books because I've been promoted to a teacher, but they can only see the teacher's book and their book.
Thank you. If you create a brand new library, right? So you have an existing library and you create a brand new library, does that then have a new code that you need to share with students?
Yes. So each individual library has its own special code. Yep. So like this one has the invite code and it's SHFPZHF because, you know, why not use awesome letters to make your code? And then if I go to this library, now it's SDPZHYL. So each individual library has its own individual code.
Okay, and if you wanted to invite like a para-professional, you would just add them as a co-collaborator?
So they would need to join your library using this code so that then they're a user, they're an author in your library. And then you choose, I can't do it in this one because I'm the only author in there. Hang on. Oops, I did it again. So once you have an extra author, another author in your book. So like I have my daughter as an author in my book, in my library. I can go up here and I can see, here's Lily. She's an author in my library. I click on the jelly beans next to her name and then I promote her to co-teacher. And that gives her access to see everyone's work.
Perfect. Another question asked, what are some of the problems that students encounter as they get started?
That they want to be more creative. We haven't really had, like, we've had some glitchy things where the teacher wasn't able to see the students' work. But other than that, all of the students so far have been like, can we move a little faster, teacher, because this is really easy and we get it. So I haven't seen, like, my third grader this is her work that she's creating on her own. My fifth grader creates on his own all the time. He had to go do school someplace else, so he didn't interrupt me to tell me how to do book creator today. So I haven't run into like common problems for kids yet.
Okay, that's awesome. Can you walk through the process again? Like you're starting a brand new project with your class and you have a master. Do you put that into a library and then invite kids to that library? Is that how you would do that? And show how they make a copy again?
Yep, absolutely. So there's two different ways that you can get your students started. One is to have them join your library and then they create a new book. And then everybody has created a new book in their library. And then you share the pages to them. The other way is to have students join your library. That's always the first step. And then they can, if you have your master book in that library, then they can click on the sharing, the library book stack here, and they can just say copy book. And then that creates their own copy of the book. So I would do that with like just the cover, or maybe the cover in the first 2 pages or so. And then once they have that book copied, then I can, inside of my book, I click on pages. I decide which pages I want to share with my students. So I click select, and I want to share all of this important info that goes at the beginning of the book. I say copy to. I choose the library that I want it to go to. And then I choose, I want it to go to everybody's book. Everybody is getting the same pages. And then I just click copy pages. This is a great way to differentiate if you have students that need more supports and you have a page that has more sentence frames on it or has maybe some translations on it or something like that, then you could share an individual page. I just want this page and I just want it to go to this book. So this is the only student's book who needs this particular page because it has extra supports or language or a video or whatever other things that they might need to help them be successful.
Awesome. Another question we had earlier was the ability to number pages. Do you just do that? Does it do it automatically or do you add in the page number yourself?
So when you create the book, it's going to tell me that I'm on page 2 and 3 of 15. So this one I did like the tall, skinny book. So it's doing 2 pages at a time. After I started with this one, I decided I didn't really like that style. It didn't work for me. If I go here, now it's going to slow down. I can look at all of the pages at once and it will show me the numbers. And I can always add in a text box with the page number and put it at the bottom of my pages. You do have the ability on your pages to lock things so that they can't be moved accidentally or otherwise. I mean, students, because they have editing capability in their own copy of the book, once you copy the page to them, they can always unlock and move. But to start, like if you lock the things, then it will be locked when you give it to your students. It's taking a really long time. It's really not happy with me.
And when you put your master inside the folder that the library the kids have access to, you can still lock the permissions so they cannot mess with your version. Is that just automatic?
Yep, that's automatic. So they can see yours, but they cannot edit yours. Yep.
Perfect.
It's not going to load for me.
I know Zoom has kicked you. A ton of people have left and come back in the meeting. I think it's kicking everybody out. For those who are interested, there's the check-in link for TeacherSource so that you can get PDU credits for attending this class. And if you're watching this on video, the link is in TeacherSource as well for you to get your check-in, your code.
Awesome. Like I said, you can feel free to email me anytime, ask me questions, and if I don't know the answer, I will find the answer. I do know that the book creator chat friends, they've been super helpful when we've run into any sort of issue, and their resources for professional development have been really helpful in learning how to navigate Book Creator.
Another great thing is that we used to have the free version of Book Creator, which was only 40 books and really limited. And this year, because of CDL, they've actually paid for this paid version. And not a ton of teachers are using it. So I'm just worried it gets taken away, right? If we're not utilizing it to its full capacity. So the more you can spread the word and have kids creating books. And the great part is it's K through 12, right? It's totally appropriate for all levels. So the more we use it, the more likely we actually get to keep it in the future. So
yeah. The comment from a 7th grade student yesterday was, I wish we were doing more creative stuff with it. And this is really easy. Can we use it more? So the kids really like it. It's fun.
Where is this going to be? Where is this where is this webinar going to be stored in? Curious.
This will be living in our digital playbook. We also have a website where there are videos shared, and I'll put the link in the chat for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. I think that's our time for today. So
thank you guys.
Thank you. Have a good
you.
day.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a good day. Thanks for joining us.
Nice job, Susan.
Thank you.
Thanks, Peerenboom. Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you.
So can I ask really quickly before we log off?
Yeah.
You're mentioning that we're paying for this version. So what happens? So we spend a lot of time creating these books and we want to use them year to year. What happens to them if we change, if the district changes the subscription? Can these be downloaded? Can they be stored somewhere else?
Not knowing exactly how the paid for version works, the transition. I know that there is a free version and you have your own library, but it is limited to 40 books. So my assumption, if we didn't have it paid for next year, would be that you still keep the books that are in your personal library. So maybe at the end of the year, you slide them all over into your own personal library just to keep the master copies.
Okay, but you can't have more than 40 masters.
You cannot. And I know a number of ways teachers have gotten around that. One thing they've done is more like a cumulative book throughout the year. So every student gets one. And then it's like my first story, my second story, my third story, my next journal, you know, more like a table of contents and a longer book. So some people have done that.
There's also the option to combine books. So you can take all of your books and combine them into one, and then you would have all of the pages, right, that you've created in one book.
Okay, so no matter what happens to the subscription status, if we were to combine books or whatnot, we can hold on to our account, even if like we change to a different district or we go on leave. That's my thing. I've been on maternity leave. I came back. I'm probably going on again. I don't want to create a bunch of books and then lose all my work.
I think you can, I think there's workarounds so that you can still have access to them.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much, you guys. This was really helpful.
Great, I'm glad.
And kids print out their books. I had a boy ask me that, like if he creates this book and he wants to print it out for him to have a copy physically.
That's one I don't know the answer to.
I'm not sure.
I had another student reply saying, he said, yeah, you can, and you go here and do whatever, but we've just started this process. So I haven't gone back and checked if that's really true, or I don't know. The kids usually find out answers faster than we do.
No, right? I don't know the answer to that one either. I would assume you could.
But you could publish it online. So would they always have, like he said, so like if I make this book now, can I have it like when I'm old and show my children? But like they'll have a link to an online, they have a shared link to be able to access it online. But then if this mode goes away, then it's not stored there anymore. So I don't know what to tell them.
I think because it's still a published link, I think they still can have access to it. I think. I don't 100% know, but the book creator people will know. And I'll see if I can find the answer to that.
Okay, yeah, they want to, like, they're already looking ahead. I want to preserve this for when I'm old. Like,
because,
okay.
yeah, I will look into that and then I will let you know what I find out.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Oh my
gosh. Awesome. Suzanne, that was fabulous. You did it. It was beautiful. Even with getting kicked out, right?